Have you ever stood in front of your closet before the first day of school, just staring, thinking, oh my God, what am I supposed to wear? And you feel so nervous? Well, you're not alone, because back to school fashion anxiety is so real. And it's not just about what am I going to wear? It's also quite literally a psychological phenomenon tangled up with our sense of identity, social survival, and even neurochemistry. And so today we're going beyond the usual wear what makes you happy advice, and let's unpack this dilemma of fashion and anxiety and going back to school. I just can't help but think, why do our brains treat school hallways like fashion runways, And maybe it's our brain confusing hallways with our past and how we used to need to be on defense all the time. Who knows? We'll get into it. But I also want to say that fast fashion has a lot to do with our anxiety. It basically exploits our sense of not being enough, because we always have to be catching up with these trends. And I also feel like fashion should and can be a sense of style and self-expression, but that can become distorted when we want to fit in. But if you're new to this podcast, I'm Ellie, and this is Susty Talks. I aim to spark genuine conversations around ethical fashion, sustainable change, and intersectional solutions. And it's all about being an online space that drives positive change and empowers action, making sustainability and this information just more accessible and relevant to everyone. This is a self-funded initiative, by the way. I do offer vintage clothing on my eBay and my Depop, so that will be available for you. So to start off, we should understand a bit more what fashion anxiety means. I'm going to focus though specifically on back to school fashion anxiety, because we've all been there, and it's like this flavor, I would say. Yeah, it's a flavor of what psychologists call anticipatory anxiety. So basically it's like a nervous, future-focused worry, of oh my God, what's going to happen? You're trying to predict it. And as students, we're just kind of oh my God, will people judge my outfit? Will I fit in? Is this top pretty enough? Does this match with my pants? Are these shoes okay? What if my style isn't right? We've all been there. And I get it, I get it so much, because I used to be a fashion merchandise student, and I would always think about it. And I feel like maybe it's kind of because of our past of needing tribal belonging to be safe, and rejection maybe felt like danger. But we're now in 2025, and I still feel like our brain thinks we're way in the past, and maybe it treats social exclusion or something like a threat. And maybe that's why you're panicking of oh my God, will I fit in? And there's literal studies, one study in the Journal of Experimental Psychology, to nerd out for a bit, found that clothing choices can activate our prefrontal cortex, which is the same region that processes identity and social norms. Basically, that means our brain doesn't just see clothing as fabric, just clothing itself. It literally takes it as both a unconscious and also a conscious process, and then they broadcast it to the world, and that shapes who we are, or maybe pretending who we want to be. But the thing is, our brain also loves to catastrophize. A study by Woodward even found that clothing can intensify or soothe these anxieties, depending on how it's used. So if you feel our outfit is trash, our brain is gonna push that even more out. It's kind of crazy how the brain works. And I think this just proves that fashion isn't just about looking good. I also want to note that I recently saw this term called Enclothed cognition, to get even more nerdier. So basically, researchers Adam and Galinsky found that what we wear changes what we think and feel, which is basically what I've been talking about already. So for example, I am sure you felt that whenever you put a blazer on, a bomb blazer, you start to feel more powerful, you sit up straighter, you feel wow, I'm a boss, And when you wear a sweater that's super cozy, you're oh my gosh, I'm so cute, and you become a bit more softer maybe, or more feminine. It depends on who you are, obviously. I'm not gonna generalize everyone, but you know what I mean. So yeah, fashion is not as shallow as we want to make it to be. And I want to remind us, like, it's literally cognitive science. And I'm just so impressed with the brain. Something else really wild is something called anticipatory anxiety. So like that dread before an event, that can really distort reality. So we might think, oh my God, if I wear these thrifted jeans, will everyone hate me? Will people think I'm poor? Now, most likely people won't know it's thrifted, but in your head, you're constantly worrying and thinking what other people will think. But most of the times people are just stuck in their own head and they're not really thinking about you. Sometimes we're so in our heads that we don't even notice people are not even paying attention to us. I want to touch on now that back to school clothing does matter. This podcast is not to dismiss clothing or fashion, especially within the first day, because it is a very anxiety-inducing experience. There's stress. You don't know who you're going to see. You don't know where your classes are going to be at. You don't know what paths you're going to take to school. You don't know like the exact routine. And a lot of people cope in their ways. A lot of people can lean more into their gender. So let's say they identify as a female, they may dress more feminine. If you're a guy, you may dress more manly. So gender conformity can help you maybe find your trend or your style a bit more. But other people react differently, of course. Like they may choose more unique items or choose bold colors to stand out, show more skin or less skin. Like this conversation is unique to every single person. Everyone dresses and claims control or identity in stressful moments differently. And there's this like fascinating quote that I saw that I love by the psychologist J.C. Flugel. They said, "Clothing is a protection against the general unfriendliness of the world, a reassurance against the lack of love." And I think it's true. It's really heavy, but I think it's true. Like, if you're scared of being judged, your outfit basically becomes a shield, a defense against outside forces, especially when there's like so much violence and chaos in the world right now. Like, sometimes all you want to do is like fit in a box, not call attention to yourself, and get through your day. I was one of those people. But there's also some problems in this logic. Like, I don't think fashion will always fully protect you from the unknown. Like, it won't guarantee friendships, unfortunately. And so no matter what we do, the first day of school is always going to be like a mystery. It's always going to be an uncontrollable part of our life, no matter what we wear, sadly. I wish it wasn't true. And then we have this pressure from social media that piles into it too. So when we're deciding to wear something, yeah, it can give us control and yeah, it can define our style, but it can't really guarantee anything at the end of the day. But a lot of people do try to keep up with fast fashion trends to feel a bit more secure about who they are as a person, or to feel like, oh my God, like I'm actually going to have friends based on these trends that I'm wearing or adopting in my life. This kind of alludes to the point of like fashion can be therapy, meaning you self-soothe or you process thoughts or emotions through how you look, through appearance management, which is everyone's choice. Like, we choose our coping mechanisms, and I'm sure that we've all done this, like where we put on our favorite outfit and suddenly we feel like cognitively braver, like we're just braver in general, like our emotions are more strengthened, we feel safer. So yeah, it's crazy how our clothing can like literally reshape our mindset and our identity in real time. But I do want to address the root causes of fashion anxiety. Like, why do we stay anxious despite having a closet full of clothing? My theory is that fast fashion is not really helping. We have to keep up with these endless trends, and we're often seeking validation or trying to curate our identity within current times and our desire to keep up with the trends. Like, Shein literally drops an average of 6,000 new styles daily, convincing us that we're basically behind if we don't keep up. So like, imagine that before school. We're like, okay, well, I bought this trend and now it's not in trend, so now I have to buy more clothing. It's a never-ending loop. I also feel like as fashion lovers, we can be targeted with FOMO marketing, which is this idea of like, buy this or be uncool. And it can really be put onto teens because they have like developing brains and they like dopamine, but like, you can't entirely blame the individual for buying into trends when like fashion brands in the system is pushing out disposable clothing, which is clothing that's really cheap, that's expected to be discarded. The system is basically pushing us to not have an emotional bond with what's in our closet. Yeah, fashion anxiety is just like a symptom, I feel like, of bigger systems at play. besides the fear of judgment, like social comparison and like just general school stress, do want to say real quick that we should often do like reflective practices to get to the root of ourselves and our like consciousness. I think this is a big help when we're so pressured externally. So I would try to like name your fear of like why you're feeling so anxious when you go back to school, and like when you're looking at your clothing. Like, are you scared of being laughed at, of feeling invisible? Like, just naming the things that you're facing can like shrink its power. You can also try to reframe this idea of failure. So what if your outfit flops? You can always just think of it as a learning journey. You can laugh, you can like not take it so seriously. I know that's easier said than done. And I don't know, I think one of the biggest things that's helped me is like remembering everyone is kind of faking it a little. Like, even the cool kids can be stressed about their zambas or feel anxious about not being good enough. Like, we're literally all humans no matter what we look like. And I would dare to say that the most beautiful, like, cool kids are often the ones most worried about trends, the most worried about looking a certain way to be cool. And more tips for fashion anxiety is a reminder that we don't have to constantly be updating our closet or overhauling our closet. Like, we can decide to love things and keep things. And if that sounds too hard at the moment, you could always like use the one thing rule, which is like about making more micro choices, like adding one bold accessory to the things that you already own. And this can like really reduce anxiety and give you like more creativity in a controlled way. Like, it helps me a lot because I just get overwhelmed with choices, and then I just end up like not choosing anything I have, and it's just easier to buy something else and start new. You can always try clothing swaps as well to find new pieces and spend time with friends and family. If you don't know how to host one, I have a past video that I'll link down below. But I just encourage people to do things that spark joy, happiness. Finding your personal style, I feel like, is so important to find yourself and to, feel a bit better within this world. I also want to say that try to journal, try to spend time in nature, try to like find ways that can really tune you back into yourself. But that takes time. So if you're a minimalist, you can always just like take time to like stare at your closet and be like, I will choose these 3 basic tops, or like these 2 basic bottoms and these shoes, and just wear that combo. And there's like literal proof in psychology that the less options you have means less decisions, which means simpler life choices. And it can actually boost your confidence, like, because I literally know what I'm gonna wear for like the next week. So yeah, consider investing in like high quality neutrals if you can, instead of like constantly buying from fast fashion. I feel like that will do wonders in our mental health. Buying well-made stuff though can be an investment up front, but if you wear it a lot and like take care of it, I think you will get like more bang for your buck versus like a fast fashion tee. And my last tip is to remember that style thrives in like-minded community. So I am always an advocate of like finding your people, finding your tribe, and focusing on them and their happiness, and hopefully they return it back to you, versus instead listening to influencers and like brands who are trying to pressure you to basically mold you into something that you're not. One thing I also do is this like mirror mantra where I like look at myself in my outfit and I'm like, would I say these things to my best friend? Because I'm often enough like saying the most rude annoying thing to myself and like saying, oh my god, I look so fat, or I look so ugly, blah blah blah, like being so hard on myself. So please give yourself grace and just think, would I be saying this to my friends, to the people that I love? And to wrap up, just want to remind you, clothing is powerful. It's been proven by psychologists, by studies. It shapes how we move through the world, how we think, how we feel. And at the end of the day, the school year will be uncontrollable, sadly, but you decide how you want to navigate. And one of the things we can do is to have fun. Center joy and center ourselves and our authenticity in that process. Let me know what you're feeling about, the back to school fashion anxiety and just like fashion anxiety in general if you're not in school. But yeah, thanks for tuning in to Susty Talks. It's been super fun. Stay curious, stay kind, and just wear the outfit, girl. Bye.